Please take a second to subscribe, then like and share afterwards. We can really use your support. Thank you. In our previous episode, we ran backwards in time to the period of Abraham and his time in Egypt and God's promise to his descendants. Now, we will wind back even further in time to the very foundation of the nations, because to understand today's conflict, God's promises, and the purpose of one specific people, we have to go back to the moment the world was divided, and to the cosmic drama that made it necessary. We have to go back before the flood, even before the first mountain was named. We have to go to the first rebellion. Let's start with a man who walked with God and then was no more, Enoch. Genesis places Enoch 7 generations after Adam, squarely in the pre-flood world. This is key. During his lifetime, something catastrophic happened, not on earth first, but in the heavens. The biblical text hints at it. The book of Enoch, a revered ancient text quoted in the New Testament, elaborates. A group of divine beings, members of God's own heavenly council, called the sons of God, or the Watchers, looked upon the earth, saw the daughters of men, and rebelled. They crossed a forbidden boundary, descended, took human wives, and fathered a hybrid race, the Nephilim, the giants of old. This was more than a scandal. It was a cosmic corruption. It polluted the human gene pool, and more importantly, it polluted the human mind with forbidden knowledge and violent ambition. The earth was filled with chaos, and God's response was total surgical judgment, the flood. The flood waters wiped the slate clean of the physical offspring, the Nephilim. But what about the immortal fathers, the rebel Watchers? They were judged too, bound in chains of darkness, imprisoned, held for a final trial. But the spiritual poison they released, the legacy of their rebellion, didn't just wash away. The spirits of the dead Nephilim, according to this ancient understanding, became the disembodied malevolent forces we might call demons. The stage was set, post-flood, for a repeat, and humanity obliged. United by one language and a new prideful ambition, they gathered on a plain in Shinar. "Come," they said, "let us build ourselves a city and a tower with its top in the heavens, and let us make a name for ourselves, lest we be dispersed over the face of the whole earth." Do you hear the echo? Let us make a name for ourselves. It's the same spirit that fueled the Watchers, the desire to seize glory, to transcend created order on our own terms. Babel is the human echo of the heavenly rebellion, and here at Babel we reach the event that frames everything to come. God's response is decisive. He confuses their language and scatters them over the face of all the earth. The unity of mankind is shattered. But that's not all God does. This scattering isn't just a punishment, it's an administration. And the Bible gives us the stunning divine perspective. In Deuteronomy 32, 8-9, listen to this. When the Most High gave to the nations their inheritance, when he divided mankind, he fixed the borders of the peoples according to the numbers of the sons of God. But the Lord's portion is his people, Jacob, his allotted heritage. Okay, let's unpack this. After Babel, God, the Most High, disinherits the rebellious nations. He hands them over. But to whom? To the sons of God. This is that divine council language again. But now, these celestial beings, perhaps the loyal members, or tragically, some who would follow the Watcher's path, are appointed as governing authorities, as spiritual patrons over the 70 nations of the earth. It is a breathtaking act of both judgment and mercy. Judgment, because God is giving humanity what it wanted at Babel, a chance to go its own way, to build civilization without his direct, intimate kingship. He is handing them over to secondary, created authorities. It is in his nature to grant this terrifying freedom, this chance to prove what we can do without him. It is the story of free will written across civilizations. But mercy, because he keeps one portion for himself, one line, one nation, not based on its size or strength, but as his own personal inheritance. While the 70 nations are assigned to the 70 sons of God, God himself says, "This one is mine." From the chaos of Babel and the scattered nations, God calls one man, Abram. From this one man, through a promise sworn by God alone, he forges his portion, Israel. The purpose? While the nations develop under their allotted guardians, learning the bitter lessons of life under lesser powers, Israel has a different mission. They are to be a kingdom of priests, a holy nation, a showcase of what life under the direct rule of the Creator looks like. They are the single thread through which God would begin to stitch the fractured world back together. Therefore, the people of Israel aren't meant to be seen as a holy people. They certainly weren't, but because He is holy, and His purposes for the entire earth would come about through them. But now, the story takes a dark turn. Those divine authorities, the sons of God, over the nations, failed. Psalm 82 shows God presiding in the divine council, rendering judgment on these very gods. How long will you judge unjustly, he demands. They have ruled with corruption, not justice. Their sentence is mortal. You shall die like men. And God declares his ultimate intent. Arise, O God, judge the earth, for you shall inherit all the nations. This reveals that God's big plan is to bring it all back to him. This is the whole story: the rebellion, the scattering, the failure of the guardians, and the reclamation. How does God reclaim the nations he gave over at Babel? Through his portion, through the seed of Abraham, through one man, the Messiah, Jesus Christ. In him, the authority over heaven and earth is reclaimed. The rule of the corrupt spiritual powers is broken, and the scattering of Babel begins to be reversed. Which brings us to a room in Jerusalem, 50 days after another world-altering event. The disciples are gathered, and suddenly the sound of a mighty wind, tongues of fire. They are filled with the Holy Spirit and begin to speak in other tongues, the languages of every nation under heaven gathered in Jerusalem that day. Pentecost is not random. It is the direct, glorious reversal of Babel. At Babel, God confused language to divide rebellion. At Pentecost, God gives the gift of languages through the Spirit to unite humanity around the gospel of the King. The barrier erected at the center of human history is transcended by the power of God's own presence. The promise to Abraham that in his seed all the nations would be blessed explodes into motion. God is reclaiming his inheritance. He is gathering the scattered nations back to himself, not by force, but by spirit and truth, one heart at a time, transcending the very confusion we brought upon ourselves. The story of Israel, the conflict for the land, the hope of the Messiah, it all flows from this ancient river, a rebellion in heaven, a tower on a plain, a scattering of nations, and the unwavering commitment of a God who kept one portion for himself, so that through it he might win back the world. Up next, we wind the clock back even further, uncovering not one, but two revolts that set the stage for God to unfold his master plan. Here on Secrecies Uncovered.